always surprises me how many businesses don't know about the apprenticeship levy. The levy is there and it's paid by large employers at a rate of 0.5% for any annual pay bill over £3 million. So if any employer is out there paying over £3 million per annum, they will be paying into an apprenticeship levy. For smaller businesses though, they won't be paying into the levy, but the levy funding is still there for them to be accessed. Large organisations who pay into the levy pot, if they don't actually take all of their money or utilise all of their money, that then actually goes into a larger pot and almost given back by the government. And then it's that money that is then used to help smaller businesses fund their own apprenticeships. Although linked, the apprenticeship budget is actually distinct from the total levy money received. All companies can actually see the balance of their notional levy funds in their account. It's after 24 months that any unused levy funds are then removed and put into the bigger pot. So for anyone who wishes to take on an apprenticeship, or an apprentice rather, they log on to the apprenticeship service and they can either do their own recruitment, put their own adverts out, or they can actually nominate Gen 2 in this instance to do all that on their behalf. So we can actually run everything, and that's done by our funding and compliance team. So small employers who don't actually pay into the levy, they can actually get funding from the pot of money where larger employers haven't actually used theirs. Although they don't get the full 100% funding, they do get 95% of the funding, having to pay 5% themselves. Once they register on the TAS system, they will be able to see whether they are a small employer or a large employer, and they will actually then be able to sort of draw down money from that larger pot. So you can put on the TAS system what they are hoping to achieve out of the funding, and then that funding gets reserved on their behalf. As you can see, the levy funding is quite a complicated process, but the beauty is that Gen 2 has their own funding and compliance team who utilise the system day in, day out. They're very knowledgeable, so for any questions at all, please do ask either myself or the funding and compliance team, and we'll point you in the right direction. Any employer who's wanting to take on an apprentice needs to get in contact with Gen 2 pretty much as soon as they've made that decision, as without them actually logging on to the apprentice service and actually downloading or reserving that money, we can't actually work with the client until that is all signed up and we know that funding has been reserved. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of smaller companies don't actually know that there is funding available for apprenticeships. But that goes for some bigger companies too. We've had companies that we've spoken to in the past about apprenticeships not realise that they're actually paying into this levy apprenticeship funds themselves. Of course, it's probably the finance teams that understand about the levy and know that the levy is being paid. But when it actually gets down to like the perhaps operations managers, people on the shop floor who are desperate for additional support and help and are perhaps willing to take on an apprenticeship, they're the ones that don't actually know that this is out there to be had. So there's a real need to sort of do a lot of education actually on the funding that is available